What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Table That Discussion here on Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, my illustrious Friday panel, Adam Ronis and Jen Piacenti, Ryan Hallam and Dan Malin. So, always a great bunch. Great to have you. Oh, Jen.
If I would have known this was hat day, I would have put one
company
on.
late.
Casual Friday. I felt like, I show up to these live streams. I've always got my hair curled. You guys are giving me crap for it. Jen did her hair. So I decided I would join the club. But you guys are I'm going to go one step further.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
There you go. Well, now you look like one of the little rascals. I tell you something, Alfalfa. Gee willikers.
I'm ready to go.
3 people got that joke because they know who the little rascals are. Fantastic. Right? One was Hallam. Appreciate that. Grandma, thank you so much. Right? Look at that. Right?
You're welcome, Howard.
Right, I'm going to lead off this whole thing with a shout out to Ryan's daughter, Morgan, who has now become my favorite member of the Hallam family here. Why? Because she perpetuated the grandma moniker the entire week via text, via verbal, everything like that. So, Morgan, thank you so much. You are officially my favorite. Christmas just around the corner here. Just around the corner.
She just asked me 5 minutes ago what the link was to last week's. Apparently she hasn't watched it enough because we had to watch it 25 times last week after we were done.
That was good stuff. If you guys missed what they were talking about, well, then you best go and check back on an old Table That Discussion, at least last week's. So just go 2 back there. In any event, how's everybody doing here? Everybody good? Everybody feeling good? Malin, you've got your NASCAR races back. You're feeling good about that. You did you did a great job on that Xfinity race the other day.
I got a little lucky. The Xfinity race, the DraftKings released 2 different slates for it. They had Tuesday contests, which locked, and then they released more contests on Thursday. I was fortunate that my cash lamps for both slates cashed, so I had a really good day. It was tough. It had a dramatic finish, which I'm hoping to get to possibly later. But yeah, Matt and I have been doing pretty well with the NASCAR content. It's mostly Matt, so I'll give him most of the credit.
You guys will be able to hear Matt Sells join me on the Fantasy Alarm Show today as he talks about the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So be sure to tune in to Fantasy Alarm on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. Adam, how are we doing today? Now, Adam, you had a well, aside from everybody loving the fact that you called me fat, and that was the whole following of my back problems on the radio.
You weren't sensitive, man. Why are you still bringing this up?
No. It's not that I'm not saying that I'm sensitive to it. You're getting a lot of Twitter love for saying it, I guess, is really what it comes down to. Yeah, I know, right? I don't get it either.
It's that. Some people were kind of taking your side, and they felt like I was making fun of you too much. So... But I've been doing this for years. I don't see how that one time is different than any other.
For our Jewish brethren out there, it's why is this night different from all other nights? It's not. Adam's always going to make fun of me and vice versa. But nevertheless, Adam, it did sort of kind of spill into the Twitter sphere there. And you actually posted a tweet that actually got a whole lot of traction, over 100 comments on it. I didn't see how many retweets or likes you got, but it was pretty funny. You basically asked if anybody out there was losing weight during this this stay-at-home quarantine. Clearly not me at all. But how about you, Adam? Have you dropped a couple of lbs there?
No, I mean I don't even check, but basically I don't gain or lose weight. It's pretty bad. Like I just have not been able to put on weight throughout my whole entire life, and I'd always complain about it. And my mom would be like, don't worry. When you're 40, you're not going to want to put on the weight, and you will. And I know it's hard to believe, but I am 40. I know I look a lot younger, but the weight has not been put on. You're laughing.
I had you back to 26. I don't know.
Well, I look 26. Old? Do I look old?
You look older than me.
Yeah, okay.
Dude, look at that hairline. Just because you grow it long in the back doesn't mean that we don't see this.
My face, though, is young, man.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. All right? And women have said so. So they
Who's
don't
getting
believe
sensitive
that
now.
they're not as old. They don't think I'm as old as I am. But either way, yeah, I can't put on weight. I mean, part of it is I guess I don't eat enough. If I sat next to a table or spent the day with Howard and see what he eats and then what I ate, I felt like, damn, no wonder why I don't put on weight. But yeah, I can't put on weight, man. So, and obviously women hate me for it.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, trust me, I've heard it because they'll tell me like, oh, I put on weight, I was eating this, I got to watch what I eat, and then I can eat whatever I want. So I guess it's a good thing since so many people are trying to lose weight. But yeah, it sparked a lot of reaction because people like to tell their stories, and there were quite a few that lost some weight. Mike Dempsey chimed in. He actually said he's lost 75 pounds.
Holy shit.
Mike Dempsey has. Well, that was a health thing there also. If he didn't, he was going to go take the old dirt nap. So good for Dempsey on that. How about you guys out there? How about Jen, Ryan, Malin? How about you guys? Anybody out there losing weight, not gaining weight? Like you're either not losing weight or you're looking like Bender. Which one is it? Jen?
I've lost a little bit of weight. But not on purpose. Mostly because like I'm in quarantine, I have to buy all my own food.
Yeah, she can't.
Nobody's taking me anywhere.
She can't get a lot of women right now
can't
get those dinners.
Au gratin potatoes not on the table right now because I'm not making them.
That trip not as hard to come by now, huh, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, like apparently I'm gonna have to get a job and stuff. I mean, it stinks.
These are some first world problems here.
But actually, really, like what I do for entertainment, I realize is like I go out and I kind of eat junk food and have drinks with my friends. Like that's my favorite thing to do, and I'm not doing that. It's like doing it by myself isn't any fun. Like I don't want to sit around and just eat like nachos alone. It's no fun to eat nachos alone watching, I don't know, the news.
Like drinking, I see. I kind of don't like to drink by myself. It's more in a social setting. But food, why do you need anyone else? Just eat.
Yeah,
no, because if I'm by myself, I just have like healthy food. Like I don't feel any need to eat like junk food and then sit around feeling gross by myself, feeling bad about myself. So I just kind of eat light.
Man, I already picked on him enough.
Yeah, listen, I've got no problem with it. I have no problem with it. Listen, it's the funniest thing. When I go away to like these FSGA conferences and stuff like that, it's like everybody else like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go down to the bar. I'm ready to do this. I'm like, I'm ready to go get a pizza and sit in my room by myself and eat it in shame. And I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. Dan, Ryan, how about you guys, man? Any workout regimens here so that you don't end up looking like me?
When this all started, probably the first month, I think I gained 5 pounds just because my gym closed, and I figured if I wasn't working out, then I was just more inclined. If I was just staying home, I'm more inclined to eat poorly, and just order takeout. But now that my gym opened back up about a month ago, I think I'm about back to even. Have more of a workout regimen. I mean, I go like 6 to 8 times a week, so I'm getting back on track.
Yeah, 5 pound swing, that's adorable.
Turn his camera off for Christ's sake.
You said you do 2 a days?
Sometimes, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, because I work out at a boxing gym, and so they'll have like boxing classes for cardio, and then they allow you just to come in and use the weights.
Oh.
He's my least favorite person out here now.
Ryan, why don't you tell everybody why you're probably my spirit animal of this whole gym?
When it first started, we you go to the shop and you're like, oh, get a treat because we're stuck inside all the time. And now it's like 2 months into it, and it's like, I gotta kind of stop that. And my wife's like a Zumba instructor, and she works out like 6 times a week. So like I get shamed at home for being just a useless slug. So I've tried a little bit in the last week or 10 days to do a little stuff at home and try to eat a little better, drink a little less. But my scale is more used as a garbage can cover to keep the dogs out of the garbage than to actually weigh myself. So I'm not exactly sure where I am. Everything still kind of fits around the same. So I'm definitely not doing Malin's 6 to 8 times a week.
Yeah, right? All right.
Even I'm not doing that.
Well, so that's where we're at right now in the middle of quarantine, people. But that's obviously not why you tuned in here. You're looking for a little bit of sports information as well. Because, listen, nothing makes you feel worse than listening to Dan Malin talk about 2 a days at the gym. I'm not into that. or Jen being like, oh, just I can't, and yeah, I mean, there it is.
I eat Kind bars. It's fine. I'm fine. I'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, I eat a box of Kind bars in the morning too. Absolutely. So let's move it over to the wonderful world of sports. Let's talk Major League Baseball here. I don't know if you guys caught up with John Heyman's tweets. He's from the MLB Network. There's a lot of stuff going on here between Major League Baseball and between the owners and the players. And basically what's going on right now is that we're hearing that this is not it's not a safety issue anymore. At this point right now, the players agreed to a pay cut. Ownership is now coming back saying they want them to take an even bigger pay cut because there's going to be no gate receipts, no concessions or anything like that. When we as fans, all right, let's take our analyst hat off for a second here and let's talk about being a fan for a moment. When we as fans see something like that, millionaire players complaining about having to take a pay cut when there are 40 million people who are unemployed in this country right now. Fat cat owners talking about not getting game receipts and being like, oh, well, we're gonna lose, $1.2 billion over a 2-year span and yada yada yada. As a fan, it's very discouraging. It's very upsetting, and to hear that this is what we're talking about as to why we might not have a baseball season. Really kind of disappointing here. More disappointing, in my opinion, than the last time there was a strike back in 1994. So what I want each of you to do is now put your analyst hat back on and convince everybody watching right now why they shouldn't give up on baseball, not just fantasy baseball, but baseball in general here. I'll start with Malin. Talk to me.
I mean, I just think it would be a little bit far-fetched if the league actually went a whole season or just went the whole year without anything. I think it was back in 1994. I was a small child, so I don't even remember that strike. But I mean, anytime you lose a season, what, Hallam?
I was 17. I don't want to hear you about being a small child. Now you're young and you go to the gym twice a day.
But they know how bad it can be if they lose the entire season. I mean, I understand the players' frustrations. I mean, it's millionaires versus billionaires. It's like, how bad are they really hurting compared to everyone else in the country that are struggling to just put food on the table and pay rent right now? I'd be stunned if they just went an entire year without baseball. And even if they just wanted to give up half the season that was in the books, I'm hoping they get something done. But I mean, like, by the time the league does come back, we may have NBA and NHL playoffs back as well. And the NFL season isn't on hold yet, so it's a tough look for baseball, but I'd just be stunned if they just threw it all away.
Well, that doesn't really sound like a convincing argument to the Joe Everyman out there who's ready to just give up on baseball altogether. So, Jen, how about you? You convince. Look at me. Pretend I'm Joe Everyman here. And convince me not to give up on the sport of baseball. I don't want to do any fantasy baseball drafts right now. These guys are all greedy fat cats and they're all arguing about that while I'm sitting here trying to rub two nickels together to get something out of it. Convince me.
All right, let me tell you something. I'm an actor and I'm a part of a union. And sometimes our unions are our worst enemies. And what they're trying to do is protect us. But sometimes they get in the way. But in the end, what it comes down to, I'm an actor. I want an act. It always works out okay. These players are going to play. It's going to be okay. They feel they have to do this to protect themselves and their rights in the future. It's not going to go on much longer. We're going to get back on the field. It's going to be great. And you can't give up on baseball because baseball is part of what makes the summer. And we need the summer back and we need the happiness back. And you just got to believe that these guys want to get out there and play. Most of them really do want to get out there and play. And the ones who don't, good. They don't need to play. You don't have to root for them, but you should still vote for baseball and root for baseball because baseball is America's sport. There's summer pastime and we need it.
Still sounds to me like, I'm not even blaming the players at this point. They said, yeah, we'll take a pay cut. Now it's ownership coming back. No gate receipts. So no to Malin, no to Jen. Hallam, go ahead. Convince me. I shouldn't give up on baseball.
Well, we've all been baseball fans our entire lives. And how many awesome memories in your life do you have of baseball in your lifetime? I'm a Cardinals fan. I remember it was a while back now when they came back against the Nationals in like the bottom of the ninth. They scored 3 runs. I was in the dark by myself drinking champagne as my team just advanced in the 98 home run race. And there's so many great things that baseball brings to us. And like Jen said, this is going to be over soon. This happens all the time. Every time collective bargaining comes up, they go down to the wire, and as soon as there's some sort of tension, somebody breaks, and there's going to be baseball. The universal DH. Hey, we're not going to have to watch pitchers hit anymore. That's going to be great. And just to have something to watch on TV, where I think we're all pretty much done with Netflix and Hulu of everything. Nobody wants to watch professional tag that I saw a commercial for, or cars driving around the circle 500 times. Everybody's looking for stuff that we've known our entire lives. It's baseball. You know it. You love it. I understand the frustration with the finances. It's money we can't even begin to understand. And whether you're unemployed or not, the second that bat cracks and the ball hits it in the stadium, it goes into the stands, even if no one's there, all the rush of excitement and happiness is going to be back. So just be a little patient. I know it's tough, but your game is coming back.
The sounds of the game, the universal DH. I like both those arguments there. Adam, put it over the top, man. Convince me that I shouldn't be just, absorbed with every other sport that isn't having so many issues.
Well, they're all having issues. None are back officially. So I think there's nothing going on. Reporters have to get stories. Sides are leaking. Don't pay attention to it. It's simple. I mean, for real. Like this whole time I've been saying it. I understand we have to talk about things and we need content. But all these things, they have been a waste. Oh, they're going to play only in Arizona and Florida. Well, that's gone now. There's going to be 3 divisions. That's gone now. So if you were spending time analyzing all this garbage, you wasted time. So don't pay attention to it. They're going to be back. They can't be this stupid. And if they are, well, then they're going to cost themselves. But don't pay attention to it. I don't care. Let them argue. Everyone wants the money. This goes on all the time until a final decision is made with all these sports. I'm not paying attention. Oh, there's going to be this tournament. They're going to play. You know what? Tell me when the agreement is and when they return for a date, and then I'll give my analysis. Until then, it's just a bunch of garbage. So just don't pay attention to it. Simple.
All right. Don't pay attention to the news. Don't pay attention to what they're negotiating, and don't take sides. Just wait until we see what happens when sports comes back. All right. Not the most riveting, convincing arguments here, but listen, I know like we all have a love for baseball. And I guess it's time to do what Adam says and tune out all the nonsense.
Let me see. I don't know if you're asking this from your perspective. So are you saying you're so turned off that you're not playing fantasy baseball at all this year?
No, I've already committed to several fantasy baseball teams. So I'm going to continue. I'm talking about, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Bob from accounting. Bob from accounting who, wants to join the fantasy league for the camaraderie in his office. But if he hates baseball, and sacrifice the camaraderie.
Howard, Bob from accounting gets the finances. He understands what's going on. He's an accountant.
Does he? Does he? When he's sitting there and he's making his $65,000 a year, and he hears that the owners are like, no hot dog sales. Oh no, I'm going to make $1 billion less than I usually make.
He sees the debits and the credits, and he understands.
All right, well then, Bob from accounting it is, and let's all give Bob from accounting a shout out there, right? Hey, Bob.
Attaboy, Bob.
All right, Bob. We'll table that discussion. We'll move on to this one here, though, because we are talking about the fact that all these sports are supposed to be coming back at the same time. Not only are we going to see NFL camps open up in July, but you're going to end up having NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, the start of the Major League Baseball season. NASCAR is going to keep going. MMA is going to keep going. It's going to be a sports bonanza here. Of the top 4 sports, though, MLB, NFL, NBA, or NHL, which league has the better set of playoffs? Adam, I'll go to you.
Well, based on what? Because the playoff format could change. So
playoffs in general. When you talk about playoff baseball versus playoff hockey versus playoff basketball versus playoff football, what captures the audience more in your eyes, or what captures you more?
I think they're all great, to be honest. I'm not as big into the NHL anymore, but I will say their playoffs are phenomenal. If you've never watched playoff hockey, you have to, especially overtime games. It kind of gets lost a little bit in the shuffle for me over the last few years. Part of it because the Rangers haven't been as good. I'm a diehard Rangers fan. So if they were in it, I would probably pay attention at least more to them. NBA, I think, is going to be great. You know, one of the arguments people have been giving me over the years is, oh, we know Golden State's going to win. Well, you were idiots last year because they didn't win. And I think it's kind of wide open this year, even though there's 3 teams that are heavy favorites. But you got the Clippers, who, you know, probably have the most depth. You have the Lakers and the storyline of LeBron James trying to win another championship and bring it back to the Lakers, and you have Giannis and the Bucks, who were the most dominant team this year, and Giannis trying to get his first title. So the NBA playoffs, compared to recent years, I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite. MLB playoffs are always great. You know, there's always a team sometimes that can get hot and make a deep run. So, I mean, I just think all playoffs are great. Most people, for fans, it's going to be the NFL just because it's the most popular, but there's a lot of garbage NFL games in the playoffs sometimes. So I don't know. Like, for me, I like them all, but probably baseball, I think.
Okay. All right. Hallam, how about you?
Piggybacking on what Adam said, I think hockey is the most transformative. It really is. Playoff hockey is the one playoffs that I feel pulls in casual fans more than any other. Because I don't give a crap about hockey, and I'll still watch NHL playoffs, at least a little bit. So I kind of agree. For the playoffs only, I think the NHL does a great job at pulling in people who don't normally watch it. NFL, of course, is going to get the most attention. It's the biggest sport we have. The Super Bowl is an event in itself. I mean, people want the day after to be a national holiday so we don't have to go back to work. NBA, going back to Adam again, I've given up on the NBA the last few years because it's been the same thing over and over and over. And this year has finally been a little different. Yes, there are still some super teams, but there's not one super team. So at least there's a little bit of glamour to the NBA this year, and MLB is baseball is just in my fabric, so I'll always watch baseball. So I think it's going to be NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA if I had to rank the 4.
And real quick, I guess the thing too with the NFL, it's one game, you know, whereas the other sports are series. So that's why. I mean, if you have a deciding game 7 in the NBA, MLB, NHL, yeah, you're going to watch that. But you might not be into games 1, 2, 3, and 4 unless you're a fan of the team or betting on it. So I guess that's also kind of the NFL. It's just that one game. You got to play that day and show up. If you don't, your season's over. Obviously, that's more appealing and intriguing for the casual fan.
Dan, how about you?
For me, it's going to be the NBA or the NHL playoffs. I'm more of an NHL guy and agree, you know, the rules kind of change when they transition from the regular season to the playoffs. They get rid of overtime 3-on-3 hockey. They just keep playing 5-on-5 in overtime in the playoffs. Whoever scores, they win the game. I mean, and it always ends in just like a classic handshake at the end of every series. And what I like about the NHL and the NBA playoffs is that nobody gets a bye. You know, the best team in each conference has to play the 8 seed. And in hockey, you know, there's a little more parity. You know, the 8 seed could upset the 1 seed. Don't see it too much in the NBA. I don't think it's happened since maybe the 90s. I could be wrong. But for me, it's NHL and NBA, and I have to choose between those two. I'm going to take the NHL. I'm not even a big NBA guy, but I do fall in love with the NBA playoffs every year. NFL's great, you know, but it's one game and everyone gets excited for Wild Card Weekend and the divisional round. But honestly, I don't really care for the MLB playoffs. If the Red Sox or Braves are out of it, I typically don't really watch.
All right, Jen. I mean, Darla from the Little Rascals. You just snuck into the He-Man Woman Haters Clubhouse, and now what's up? What do you prefer? Which is your playoff favorite?
So are we is this as if they're all playing off at the same time and I have to pick one, or just in general, which one do I like?
No, I mean, listen, they're all going off at the same time. What are you going to be watching the most?
I think if they're all going off at the same time, I actually would be totally with the bandwagon and go NFL. Because it is one game, it's one thing to see, it's exciting, the roar of the crowd, and like, you know, your season goes on or it doesn't, and they don't go on forever. You know, it's pretty quick. They go through the playoffs pretty quickly. But obviously, as a baseball fan, I love the way, you know, you have 7-game series, 5-game series, and it puts a spotlight on baseball when it's allowed to have their playoffs alone, I think a lot of people don't tune in to MLB until the playoffs, and then they start to get behind it, and then they develop fandom, like they pick a team, and I think that's great for MLB. But if they were all going off at the same time, it's got to be NFL.
All right. Okay. So opinions all around there. I'm going to side with Dan Malin here, and Adam made a good point also. NHL playoffs for me are the way to go. And no, it's not my favorite. It's my third favorite sport out of the top four overall. Adam, you and I are going to have to hit a Rangers game together at some point. Just,
I mean, I like, for those that have never attended a hockey game in person.
Oh, it's the best.
Might be the best sport to watch in person.
Yeah,
100%.
There's so many things that you don't see on TV. You can see them banging the stick on the ice, calling for the puck. You know, the collisions along the boards, especially if you have good seats. It's just you appreciate it more watching it in person. I know for some people it's difficult to watch on TV, and for years they had the stupid glow of the puck. But yeah, in person, hockey is tremendous. It really is.
Yeah. Best part about that glowing puck was at the ESPYs when Dennis Hopper turned around and said, everybody's talking about this glow around the puck that they're seeing, that's bothering them. I've been seeing that glow around the puck for the last 25 years, so I don't know what they're talking about. But I'll say this about the NHL playoffs, and here's the thing, is that a hot goalie can carry a team.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that baseball, I know the teams that are better than the other teams and who's going to win. Basketball, we do have a very strong idea as to which of the 3 or 4 teams are going to end up winning in the finals. Football, the Tennessee Titans kind of proved everybody a little bit wrong last year by upsetting the Ravens, but still you had the Kansas City Chiefs, who were the odds-on favorite to win it all, and they did. In the NHL, I mean, man, you can see, I've seen 8 seeds come in with a hot goalie and make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. I've seen, 6 seeds win the cup. And I love that kind of feeling of really not knowing who's going to win and who's not going to win as opposed to the other sports. So I'm voting for the NHL there. And
the St. Louis Blues last year were in dead last in the league, I think, in January of last season. They fired their coach, brought him to win. The team got hot, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup in Game 7.
I will say, though, last year, the Nationals were terrible. They were on the precipice of falling out.
This is true.
I don't
also.
think anybody thought the Nationals were going to win.
What?
I don't think anyone thought the Nationals were going to win.
I was surprised at how bad they were because I picked them to win the NL East before the year. I just thought they would. I was stunned when they were like 14 games under 500. I couldn't believe it. There were even rumors before the trade deadline. They might trade Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
But I said before, I'm like, if the one team that did not want to see the Nationals get in the playoffs was the Dodgers. I thought that was the worst thing for the Dodgers. Once the Nationals get in, because when you go with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin, that's what they're built. They were built for the postseason. And that was crazy. I mean, if a condensed year, if the Nationals get off the start like they did last year, they don't make it.
That's right.
All right. Well, there you go. Table that discussion. Let's move on to something else. You know what? Here you go. I threw this one in for fun, because I feel bad for women named Karen right now. I really feel bad for women named Karen. How is it that every woman who is like a complete moron and filming people and telling people that, they know all the facts and then all of a sudden it became Karen? And I felt bad because, you know what? I know a couple of Karens, and these Karens aren't pains in the ass. These Karens are great people. So what I've asked for everybody to do is I want each one of you to name a Karen people actually like. All right? Give me a Karen people like. Jen, who's a Karen everybody loves?
I mean, I'm going to go chalk here. Karen Carpenter. Almost everybody likes Karen Carpenter. This is so obvious. But I also want to bring up another point. I think it's really important to distinguish between a Karen and a Becky. And, the main thing for me is, when do you graduate from Becky to Karen? And I feel like I still want to be, if people are slandering me as they might, obviously I'm the prototype of a Karen or a Becky. I'd like to still stay in Becky category, I think.
What's a Becky? I know what a Karen is, but what's a Becky?
You don't know what a Becky is?
It's very similar.
If I knew what a Becky was, I wouldn't say, what's a Becky?
Becky has great hair, and she's entitled, and It's
kind of like a Karen light.
It's a young Karen. It's what Karen used to be.
Might
Becky
be a millennial Karen.
It's a millennial Karen. So.
You know who didn't like Karen Carpenter? McDonald's. McDonald's or any food establishment. She died of anorexia.
I know, but
Way to drag the name through the mud, Ryan. Good job. Good job. And here you go, right? It's like grandma at the Thanksgiving Day table. Where, like, she's saying something, maybe it's a little racist, or maybe it's just completely inappropriate, and you're just like, Grandma, you're not supposed to say stuff like that. Well,
I've come to find out that Jen doesn't know a lot of things about popular figures in culture, so I wasn't sure maybe she missed that one.
But I have been called a Becky more than a few times.
Really? I've never even heard the term Becky thrown around at all.
Showing your
I've been called Becky with the good hair, like things like that. Like it's a term, it's a thing.
All right, let's go over to Grandma here. Grandma, you just said something inappropriate about a national treasure like Karen Carpenter. So give us a Karen that everybody should love.
I was really shocked at trying to find famous Karens. There are like very few, or at least that I knew. I'm going to go with another deceased one. I'm going with Karen Black, who was an actress. If anyone in pop culture knows, it was House of a Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie's movie. She was Mother Firefly. She passed away too, but she's a Karen I liked.
Okay, all right, I can accept that. Adam?
Well, I just checked my contacts to see if I had a Karen in there, and I knew that I didn't. So none that I know personally. I can't think of any famous ones. So any Karen that sleeps with me is a good Karen.
Oh. So for all you Karens watching, there you go.
But I can
line it up there.
I haven't come across a Karen in I don't think ever as far as dating, man. So
Karen, I don't think is your style.
It's not. No, probably not.
No.
Malin?
I'll say Karen Gillan. She's an actress. A lot of people know her from Doctor Who. She's been in the latest Jumanji movies. She's been in Guardians of the Galaxy and some of the Avengers movies as Nebula. Very beautiful girl. She's very kind. She's very sweet. She's very polite. I'll go with Karen Gillan. I feel like she's probably the most popular and likable Karen that's still alive, I guess.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna throw out a little love to Karen Allen, who starred in Animal House and
Indiana
a number
Jones.
of other great movies. Karen Allen, another good Karen there. I feel bad for the Karens out there, right? Like they're just getting their names dragged through the mud by these just garbage trash people who are a nightmare. So I just wanted to do that. Now we'll put that aside. We'll table that discussion on Karens. Let's talk a little best ball draft strategy, guys. Article came out over on fantasyalarm.com today. John Impemba wrote it. He's actually at 4 p.m. He's doing a best ball draft. I don't know if there are any spots left in there. You can follow at jimpemba777 and see if he's got a spot open for you. Nevertheless, we talked about best ball strategies. He put it to paper or the internet, whatever, keyboard, whatever it is. And I know, right? Like dated references now. I'm such a Karen. So what I want to know from you guys here is let's talk a little best ball strategy. What's something that you do in best ball drafts that you probably wouldn't do in a regular fantasy draft? Who hasn't led off yet? We'll say Ryan Hallam. There you go. See, you just shout them out, guys. You can speak freely here sometime.
Well, one thing I think you do in best ball drafts that you don't do in regular drafts is draft backup quarterbacks with no moves during the year. I think, and quarterback being a popular thing, by the end, I'd say at least a few, backup quarterbacks get drafted. Maybe a committee situation like Chicago where you don't know Foles or Trubisky. Maybe a guy like Matthew Stafford who had a bad back last year. Maybe you grab Chase Daniel. Jimmy Garoppolo tore his ACL a couple of years ago. I handcuffed him with Nate Mullins last year. So I think drafting backup quarterbacks is something that happens in best ball leagues that doesn't necessarily happen in regular drafts.
Can I follow up on that point?
Of course you can.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I agree with you, and I'm actually surprised you're on this side. So in drafts where there's 16 rounds, and I see this in the industry a lot, and it pisses me off big time. If you're doing a draft in June or July, and it's a redraft league, and you only have 16 roster spots, why the hell are you taking a backup quarterback? For what? Those guys are going to be up. There's going to be plenty of good quarterbacks on the waiver wire, and you should be taking a backup running back that with an injury in the preseason can play themselves into a bigger role. And it's not always going to work out. I did the FSGA draft in June last year, 14-team league. Almost all these clowns took a backup quarterback. I only took Jameis Winston. Definitely a risk, right? He could lose his job. The backup running back I took late is Raquel Armstead. He didn't get the job. Fournette stayed healthy. I would still do it again. And you know who I wound up picking up off of waivers during the year when Winston had his bye? Josh Allen. I mean, so I don't understand. If you're doing a redraft league that you're playing out May, June, July, don't take a backup quarterback. With 20 roster spots, like the high-stakes leagues, yeah, I'll do it. But with 16 roster spots, we know how much those backup running backs are going to cost on waivers. And maybe there wasn't any catastrophic injury or big running back last year. Just because it didn't happen last year doesn't mean it won't happen this year. And all the guys in the industry, and Howard, I think you might do it too. Like, I just don't understand why you guys, especially when you're taking Russell Wilson and like, I saw someone draft Pat Mahomes and 2 rounds later take Kyler Murray. Explain that to me, man. You're playing out. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Explain that to me. How that makes sense.
I don't know. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna oh, look, I tried to go back to it and it's not letting me. Who did I take, Adam?
I don't know if I think you did in a couple drafts. You took a backup quarterback.
I might have, yeah, probably.
Well, but is there a reason why you do it?
Is there a reason why I did it?
Maybe you disagree with me on this.
No, I don't think I had a lot of confidence in the first guy who I drafted. Maybe that's what it was. You know, like if I'm waiting on the quarterback position, and let's say I wait and I miss the run, and there I am, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe I've got Matthew Stafford, or maybe I've got Ryan. No, I didn't. Nobody drafted Ryan Tannehill, but. You know what I'm saying? And I just didn't have the confidence.
If you're talking like the 10 to 14 range and you're not that confident, maybe I get it. But like the people who are drafting Mahomes, Murray, Dak, like Russell Wilson, why are you taking a backup for in May if you're playing the league out? To me, it makes no sense. I'd rather have a backup running back, even if it's the third string back. Something can happen in the preseason. Now that guy's on your roster. And we all know quarterbacks emerge during the season. Ryan Tannehill last year, right? He came off waivers. There's always someone that you can pick up. And in a 14-team league, if 10 teams are taking backups, I guarantee it, with 16 roster spots, you are going to drop the quarterback. And like I said, someone dropped Josh Allen, and I was there to take him off the waiver wire. So I just don't understand why people do it. So just to kind of piggyback off Ryan, I agree with that. In best ball, obviously, you have to take 2, at least.
Right on. All right. So did you have another strategy you wanted to throw down, or should we let somebody else talk?
I'll go since I'm on a roll here, right? Let me just take one. I'll take running backs a little bit earlier, obviously, because you can't go to the waiver wire to pick someone up. I feel, though, the problem is that when people are doing these best balls and piling up on these running backs, it's going to filter into redraft leagues. And I think that's where it's a mistake. I think people overpay for running backs every single year, and they take these landmines in rounds 3 or 4. So in best ball, yeah, I'm going to take 2 to 3 in the first 5, 6 rounds if I like them. But I'm usually coming away with at least 2 in the first 4 rounds. In a redraft league, I'm not worried about that. Like, especially if I'm picking early and I get that one stud, I'll figure it out. I'll take a bunch of shots late, and I always have the waiver wire. Last year was a bad example because we didn't get running backs emerge off the waiver wire. And the ones that did were like 1 or 2 weeks. Wayne Gallman had a couple of weeks, and then he got hurt. The Detroit backfield was a mess. So last year, we didn't get a lot of running backs emerge off the waiver wire. I think that will probably change this year. And I guess the other thing is, too, is players are getting better at fantasy football, and they're taking the backup running backs at every draft, sometimes the third. So, yeah, they are becoming more difficult. But I don't feel the need to push it in redraft leagues. So I'm taking running backs earlier. And also, I might take 3 quarterbacks, which I would never do in a redraft league. I had to do it in one of my drafts recently because everyone was taking a 3rd quarterback. So my 2nd quarterback was Dwayne Haskins, man.
Ooh.
Like, these guys were taking 3 quarterbacks in a 20-round draft. And I thought that was absurd. So I'll take a 3rd quarterback, a 3rd tight end in a best ball draft, which I'll never do in a redraft league.
All right. Before I turn it over to somebody else, I will just say in round 11, I took Jared Goff, a guy who I didn't really have a whole lot of confidence in. And then round 12, I just came around and I took Phillip Rivers. That obviously didn't pan out. But nevertheless,
year?
What's that?
That was last year?
That was last season's draft, yes. I'm looking at those results right now. What the hell happened to this team? I tell you what, man, I had some really good picks early on, and then anyway, Jen Piacenti, best ball draft strategy that you stand by wholeheartedly in best ball, but you'd never do it in a redraft.
Okay, I have a couple, but I'll start with one we were talking about the other week, which is pay attention to bye weeks. In best ball, you have to pay attention to bye weeks. You don't want to get your only, let's say you only get 2 quarterbacks, or even if you get 3 quarterbacks, but 2 of them have the same bye week, that's a bummer. You don't want to be without a player 1 week. And in a normal redraft, I don't care about that because I'll make moves, I'll make trades, use the waiver wire. But in a best ball, you do need to make sure that you're not leaving empty spots on the bench. And certainly, like, if you have a lot of people from the same team, you're going to end up with that. You're going to need, if everybody has a week 6 bye and you've got 4 spots, you have to just be a lot more aware of that than you need to be in a redraft league. So that's probably the number one thing I would say.
All right. Dan, how about you?
One strategy that I deploy a little bit more in best ball than redraft leagues is I like to stack receivers, especially if these are receivers that maybe, there might be a toss-up as to who could be the number 2, maybe the number 3. A perfect example, I think, going into this year might be Michael Gallup and CD Lamb in Dallas. Especially if one of those guys goes off, great, and then the next week it could be the other guy that goes off. So, I'm a little more comfortable doing that in best ball, given the scoring and how those leagues are set up. And even this year, I'm a little more inclined to maybe even looking into running back by committees, especially with San Francisco with Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman. And even Jared McKinnon, if he can get healthy finally.
I wouldn't bank on that.
Yeah, I would bank on that one at all. You got a better chance of like Kyle Shanahan bringing in like LaShawn McCoy than for Jerick McKinnon to actually come back. All right, well, the one that I like for myself here, not that anybody asked me, but I'll throw my opinion in anyway. I love to wait on the wide receiver position. I love stacking running backs early. And I don't feel the need, like if you fall out of you don't get one of those top 5 guys, the DeAndre Hopkins, the Michael Thomas, that type of guy. I have no problem waiting and then just drafting bulk wide receivers because the running backs are the ones that are always going to be the problem, and you want to make sure that you always, you have guys there. For wide receivers, because you're not setting your own lineup, you just need a guy to pop off. It doesn't matter if 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that he does it. You're not worried about that level of consistency. What I would like to, what I usually like to do is I like to grab guys who have, some of those big play abilities, like a Deshaun Jackson, or for a rookie this year, maybe somebody like Henry Ruggs, where you don't see the week-to-week consistency there, but when they do pop off, they do usually have a big game. So if you have, you use 7 or 8 roster spots on wide receivers, you only need 3 of them to really pop off on a given week. So, to me, it's just kind of like playing that kind of a percentage there. So just something I'd share. Anybody have any criticisms on that?
No, that was actually one of mine too.
Be good in that one too.
Wait, what? Who, what?
Will Fuller fits that bill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Will Fuller does fit
Great
that bill.
pick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Will Fuller, Deshaun Jackson. Who else? Who else we got? Who are the big play guys who don't do anything else? Christian Kirk?
Mike Williams. Hollywood Brown. Marquise Brown.
Yeah. Okay. Dan, anyone for you?
He didn't really have a great year last year, but that other wide receiver in New Orleans, I think it was Tyquan Smith or something like that.
Smith, yep.
Yeah, Tyquan Smith. He had a lot of upside for a few games. He was boom or bust for a while. So for 2018, that kind of resonates with me. But yeah, I would say him.
All right, let's talk about the tight end position. Sure, I could whisper who you start every single week for you, and we'd all know I'd be right, and everybody's reaping the benefits there. But nevertheless, let's talk tight end strategy here, because I'm kind of wondering, do you guys, are we feeling committed to getting a top guy? Do we have to get a Kittle? Do we have to get a Kelsey? Is the position getting a little bit deeper that we can officially wait on the position and still feel comfortable that we're not selling ourselves short? We will avoid the George Kittle jersey wearing Ryan Hallam for the time being right now. And I'll throw it Jen's way. Jen, tight end position. What do you think?
I feel more comfortable waiting. Last year I did draft a lot of George Kittle. It was good. He did still get a little, banged up in there, but I feel more comfortable waiting. I feel like there's more talent out there than there has been in some previous years. And so I'm waiting a little longer and going ahead and stacking up running backs more early and feeling like I can find someone like a Mike Gesicki or someone who will end up Will Dissly was one of the best tight ends in the league for the first 6 games of last year, and then he was out. You can find a guy like that. I had Darren Waller. That paid off pretty well for me for the most part. I got him late in another draft. So I'm kind of avoiding the early tight end this year because I think there is enough. I would say there's a pretty clear, good top 12, that there are about 12 that you could get and feel pretty confident with.
All right, Malin?
I'm not going to argue that the position feels like it's getting a little bit deeper, but I am a guy that loves to take a tight end early. I love locking up like a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle, Zach Ertz for a while, but Evan Ingram is emerging as an elite tight end as well. I love the prospect of having Kelce or Kittle and just knowing that I have a position advantage every single week at tight end. And even if you miss out on one of the perennial wide receiver ones, those guys kind of are a wide receiver one in their own right. They give you an advantage almost every week. For me personally, if I miss out, it's not the end of the world. We know that, Jen pointed out some great later tight ends that you can target, especially Darren Waller. Even Austin Hooper in Cleveland might have a little bit of upside, especially Hayden Hurst going to Atlanta. But for me, I really like the cushion and the comfort of having an advantage every week with Kittle or Kelce.
Adam, is that a viable strategy for you? Or are you feeling more on the lines of, I don't want to short myself at running back and wide receiver, and that's what I'm going to have to sacrifice one of those positions if I'm going to take a Kittle or a Travis Kelce?
I think you need to be flexible and never have a set strategy. Last year I went in and I'm like, I'm not going to pay for these tight ends. 2 drafts, 1 a super flex league. George Kittle was sitting there in the middle of round 4. I'm not passing on that. If everyone else is going to pass them, I'm going to take them. Another draft, I had the 12th pick in a 12-team league. George Kittle was there on the 3-4 turn. All right, you're going to let him fall? I will take him. Again, it was not part of my strategy. If you asked me before that draft, would I get Kittle? I would have said no. But I'm going to adjust to whatever's happening in the room. And if people are going to let the value fall, I'll take him. Kelce's the top target in his offense. Kittle is such a beast. I know they don't throw enough, but he should see positive touchdown regression. He's going to have a year where he scores 8 or 9. Mark Andrews is a stud, where Lamar Jackson looks for him in the red zone. They don't have a big red zone receiver, so I'll take those guys if they're value. I'm not going to reach for them. If not, I'm probably going to wait, and then you have to hope that you find that tight end 2 that breaks out. Last year it was Mark Andrews, Darren Waller. But I feel like every year we're like, oh, yeah, the tight end position is deep. And then the season starts, and in week 2, we're like, oh, shoot, there's 4 good tight ends again. So, for real, we're talking about, Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, Hayden Hurst. Yeah, they all look great on paper. And then the season starts, and you're like, oh, yeah, they're really not that good. So I find myself kind of waiting on the position. But if someone's going to let those elite guys fall and everyone has the same strategy, like, oh, I'm not wasting a pick an early tight end, I'll take them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Ryan, is it a must for you to grab George Kittle in every draft?
Actually, I almost never get an elite tight end. I do a lot of mock drafts, obviously, between the mock draft army and everything else. And every time that I go and I pick Kelce or I pick Kittle, I never seem happy with either my running backs or my wide receivers. So when I actually go through real drafts, I almost never end up with one of the top guys. And I think we're getting close to, hopefully, for lack of a better word, like a golden age of tight end. We already, like I said, Kelce's not that old. Kittle's pretty young. Mark Andrews isn't that old. Waller's pretty young. But now you have like Herb Smith and Ian Thomas getting a chance. Just Gesicki and Dawson Knox, T.J. Hawkinson and Noah Fant. There's so many names. Dallas Goedert, even if he could get out from behind Ertz. So many young guys with opportunities, and obviously they're not all going to cash in. Hopefully some of them do. That I think that this position is as deep as it's been in a really long time, at least with potential, even though a lot of them haven't quite hit the jackpot quite yet. I think there's a lot of chances. I think there's at least 6 to 8 guys that you can feel pretty good with, and for the last few years it's been 3.
Hayden Hurst is my guy this year. Gonna have all the shares of Hayden Hurst this year.
Bro. Me too. I've gotten a lot.
I tweeted that last night, actually.
In some drafts, he's really cheap. Like, I don't understand why he's not getting the love. He's basically going into Austin Hooper's spot. I know.
What's wrong with you?
Well, we have to. Well, okay, you brought him up. If you didn't say anything, we wouldn't have had this discussion.
Oh, yeah. It's always my fault, Adam. Always my fault.
We were ready to move on, and you're like, my guy's Hayden Hurst. So you want us to sit here quiet and then come on.
He has a point there.
Do I really sound like that? My guy's Hayden Hurst. When I was watching football, Johnny Unitas was there. He was there. I love that guy's haircut. High and tight. Way to go. All right, fine. Yes, I think we all are on Hayden Hurst. Listen, I agree with you, Adam. It's Austin Hooper's targets being completely vacated there.
Here's the thing, though, and this is something why I like doing early drafts. So I have Hayden Hurst ranked in my top 12, even though I didn't officially do my rankings yet. They're in my head. So he's a tight end 1 for me. But like in best ball 10s, if you're on that site, like he's way ranked at the bottom, and it's like, all right. What if someone else is thinking like me or 2 other people in the room? So, like, where do I take him? Because, like, you keep sitting there. You're like, oh, I'm going to wait. And you know what? I was picking second in a draft, and I said, you know what? I don't care, man. I got to get my guy. It doesn't matter. If you think the guy's going to break out, get him. And I got him second pick around 9, which is a way reach on the ADP. But, I think the more people are doing drafts, he's going to move up. So, like, how do you kind of deal with that when you know the guy's buried in the queue? And he's like ranked 150. Do you just wait, or you say, you know what, I'm going to take him before other people start realizing he's too low?
All right. I like it. Very nice. Good group here. Look at that. Smart people. Sorry, I got distracted for a moment here as our producer, Matt Sells, and Fantasy Alarm's managing editor felt the need to inform me that the Jets signed Joe Flacco.
Ooh.
Wow.
Right?
Going to the Super Bowl now.
Really, guys? That's the news you're giving me here? I'm in the middle of doing a live stream, and you think I want to talk about the fact, like Joe Flacco and Frank Gore. I hope they're both starting for the Jets by week 8. Thanks a lot, guys.
That's Super Bowl champion Joe Flacco.
Oh my Lord! Just somebody kill me here. All right, you know what? Let's table the tight end discussion
now just
here.
trade Jamal Adams to the Cowboys, and we're good.
God, I hate you so much, Adam.
That rumor's picking up again. Did you see that?
Yeah. Hey, great. I saw that. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
It would.
Shout out on Twitter to @Eden613, who just sent me a picture of a Karen we can all get behind. Karen from Next Door Beer. Got an ABV of 6% alcohol. It's got the Karen haircut on it. So check that out on Twitter.
What kind of beer?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm retweeting it right now so y'all can check your Twitter handles if, of course, you follow me. But nevertheless, now that I'm getting this disgusting news about Joe Flacco, and Adam has to sit here and twist the knife and talk about the possibility of Jamal Adams landing with the Cowboys. Give me a feel-good sports story for everyone to actually appreciate. If you saw it over at Fantasy Alarm, Andrew Cooper wrote a story about how Jared Goff sent an autographed jersey and did a video shout-out to his Auntie Coopy, who is actually a legend in Mansfield, Massachusetts area from high school sports. And it was really good because the story was great because she, her husband had passed and she's in quarantine. She's by herself and it was her birthday. And, here's a woman who spends her entire life with, all sorts of people hanging out and having a great time. And now she's there. So they ended up doing the video. And then when Coop went to say thank you to the people who put Jared Goff in touch, Goff heard about how big of a fan she actually really was, and then autographed a jersey and then sent that to her as well. Just said, what's her address? That was Jared Goff doing that. So I think it's stories like that I think we need more of. We need less DeAndre Baker, Quentin Dunbar, and Cody Latimer. And we need more of the feel-good stuff. So I ask you, Malin, you threw your hand up immediately. You've got a feel-good story for me here. I want to know what it is.
It's a feel-good story that has a pretty tragic beginning. Tuesday, just hours before the Xfinity race was supposed to start, Chase Briscoe, one of the drivers in the field, was FaceTiming with his wife. They had a little girl or a child that they were expecting their first child in December. He was FaceTiming her while she was at the doctor, and they were trying to search for a heartbeat, and they didn't find one, and they lost the child. And the Xfinity race gets postponed to Thursday due to weather. But honestly, like Chase Briscoe went out and ran a great race yesterday, and on the final lap, it was one of the most dramatic final laps that I've ever seen on a racetrack. He's going one-on-one with Kyle Busch, and they're bumping, and they're just kind of going off the wall. I mean, it's hard racing. Neither of them was racing dirty. They were both just racing really hard. And Chase Briscoe ultimately, he comes away with the win. He said, he just went from having the worst day of his life to having one of the best days of his life. It was a much needed win that he and his family needed, and you couldn't have rooted for it. I was screaming in my living room. I don't even get that excited for NASCAR races, but just knowing the week that he's had, I was just yelling and screaming for him to just pull away from Kyle Busch. And Busch didn't just give it to him. He made him earn it, and it just added so much drama to the last lap.
I like that. Thank you. Hallam, what do you got for us?
I have one I have to steal off of. If anyone hasn't been watching John Krasinski's Some Good News series on YouTube, I suggest you do it. It's good stories. I think it was 7 episodes. But the one they had about baseball, they had David Ortiz on, and they treated 5 healthcare workers from the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston. Took 5 of them out of the hospital, brought them on the sanitized duck boat, and brought them to Fenway Park, where they got to go on the field, run the bases, throw out a first pitch since there was no baseball. And on the video board, they had the governor, the mayor, and the entire Red Sox roster give them a standing ovation for their work. And then Ortiz and the Red Sox gave every hospital worker in the hospital lifetime 4 tickets to the Boston Red Sox.
Nice. Beautiful. Jen, Jen's about to start crying here.
I know.
So let's get it now.
But really, my favorite part was when Dan started telling a story about NASCAR, how Adam literally.
No, I knew the story.
Walked away.
No, I knew the story. I heard about it. It was a good story.
I just thought you hated NASCAR.
What?
I just thought you hated NASCAR.
I'm not a fan of it, but that's a human interest story that is worth telling.
Well, my story is also MLB related because apparently I didn't do a good job encouraging everyone to root for MLB to be back. So I'm going to give you an MLB positive one. And yes, it is about one of my Astros. So,
cheating.
Yeah.
Where's
Justin Verlander and Kate Upton made the decision as soon as they did the initial agreement where they were going to be on pause, but they were going to get paid, to donate his paycheck every week to a different charity. And they have been doing that every single week, his entire paycheck to a different charity. The first charity was a local charity in Detroit, which I found extra cool. And they went on their Instagram and talked about how special the city of Detroit was to them, and did a lot for people there. And then they've done one every week since. Last week it was one for moms and military. So that's my feel-good story. And that's why there are some good guys in MLB. I know they make a lot of money, but some of them are choosing to use that money to do good in these troubled times. So.
All right. Well, now let's wrap up this one here with Mr. Feelgood himself. Lollipops, rainbow, and sunshine, all wrapped up into one tight little ponytail. Adam Ronis.
Devin and Jason McCourty of the Patriots purchased $90,000 worth of Chromebooks for students who don't have access to computers at home in the East Ramapo and Nyack school districts. That's where they're from. They went to those schools in that Rockland area. And then they also set up a Chromebook for Kids fund where people could donate money to buy more Chromebooks for the rest of the students in need.
There you go. The McCourty twins. I like it. I like it a lot. See, there you go. Like that. That's how you end a table that discussion. It's all feel good stuff. We get that there's crap going on in the world. We don't love it, but listen, you got to find those good positive moments and really focus in on those the most and pay the most attention to them. So as we wrap up our table that discussion here, any final thoughts from the panelists? You want to send everybody off into Memorial Day weekend with some good wishes here? Anybody? Anyone care? No?
Enjoy those.
You can get to a beach, try. That's my advice.
If you can get to the beach, try.
Try.
All right.
Words of wisdom.
Right. Not really the mic drop moment we were hoping for, but there it is.
All right,
Ladies and gentlemen.
I'll tell you what. There's a free NASCAR contest basically on DraftKings. It's risk-free. It's $4 per entry, 5-entry max. Everybody, even if you come in dead last, if you forget to set your lineup, you get your money back. Play a little bit of NASCAR this weekend. You literally cannot lose money if you max enter this contest for $20. You'll get it back, or you can walk away with $50K if you finish in first.
Ooh.
There you go.
That was a good one.
Or if you can get to a beach, try.
And if you can get to the beach, try. And for anybody out there named Karen looking for love, Adam Ronis is waiting.
At Adam Ronis on Twitter. Let's go.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of Table That Discussion. Big thanks to Matt Sells for doing all the massive production work here. We always appreciate the job he does. For Jen Piacenti, Dan Malin, Adam Ronis, and Grandma Hallam, thanks so much for watching Table That Discussion here on Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.